Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm making some affordable crockpot meals. My first dish is going to make you rethink your ideas of a pot of beans, and I promise you if you try this recipe, you'll never look at a bag of beans the same again. I'll also be making a hearty dish with sausage, tomatoes, and peppers that's not only super easy to make, but it's also inexpensive. And then at the end of the video, I'll show you some footage of my weekend getaway with my family. And there's something I've been wanting to share with you guys for years now, and I finally have a chance to do it with this footage. And on my trip, two of my guests said that I made the best breakfast sandwich they've ever had in their life. So of course, I'm going to be sharing that with you as well. You might be able to use a couple of the ideas that I had for my trip for your own family get-togethers during the holidays. For my day off, I didn't want to do a lot of cooking, so I thought I would just make a pot of these beans. Sometimes I like to cook this, just add a can of tomatoes and maybe have some cornbread or something along with it. And today I thought I would do something a little bit different. And I'm only using about half of this small bag, and I think I got this bag at Dollar Tree. But I started by just adding this to the pot with some water. I was kind of in a hurry, so I just started my beans. After I got back from church, I went ahead and added some onions and also some garlic. And I would say I'm using about a third of a chopped Vidalia sweet onion. I think I picked up a bag of these at Sam's Club. And then I have 2 small garlic cloves. Obviously, if you want to saute those before you add them in, you can do that, but I think they'll be just fine just adding them in, and I'm looking for an easy day today. And then I picked up this garlic bread on the way home. I was thinking that this would be a great addition to the soup. One of my guests brought a bag of this on our vacation, and I really enjoyed it. And then I also have some kale in the fridge that I thought I would add in, and I chopped up a carrot, and then I also plan to add in the tomatoes. And my beans are actually looking really good about now. So I think that this will only take another hour or so and these should be done. And like I said in the beginning, sometimes I just make a pot of beans with a can of tomatoes and call it a day. And that is really delicious, even on its own. So if that's all you have, then feel free to make that. This smells delicious, and I think our soup is almost done. So I'm going to go ahead and prepare the garlic bread. I'm just going to put it into my toaster, and then I'm also going to get my toppings ready, which I think for this is going to be red hot. And I tried a little sample bowl, which I always do, and the broth was so delicious and so flavorful. First of all, I know you've heard me mention this before, but bean broth on its own is very flavorful. But you start adding in the garlic and the onions and all of those vegetables, and this is just fabulous. In fact, for me, this is a 10. I love this so much. I kept going back and getting little mini bowls. You know, I just added in items that I had in the fridge just to bulk it up and give it some more nutrition. But really, this is the way I want to eat my pot of beans from here on out. In fact, I think I'll probably write this recipe down just because I don't want to forget how delicious this was. And I was thinking also that I could have made some of those croutons that I made in that video where I made the homemade bread. Those would have been delicious here. I could have basically done the same thing with this bread. I could have cut it into little cubes and then cooked it in my air fryer to toast it up. However, it's not as dense as that I made a couple of weeks ago, which were perfect, actually, the soup croutons. But anyway, I'm using this bread, and I'm just gonna dip it into the soup and it's going to make it a little bit more filling. But this was so delicious that I could not stop eating this. I had 2 big bowls of this, and I'm looking forward to eating this today for my lunch also. Beans can be very rich on their own, and so that's why I really enjoy having them with tomatoes, because that acidity helps to balance out the richness of the beans. But all of these work together so beautifully. I do hope you guys will give this a try, and I think I'm going to call this my Tuscan white bean soup. And I do want to mention that I used fire roasted tomatoes, which I think makes a little bit of a difference in the soup. I picked these peppers up a few weeks ago because I've been craving this meal, and I meant to use these sooner, but they'll be just fine. With the end result, a person would never know that the peppers were a few days old. I've been thinking about this combination of sausage and peppers with tomatoes. Today is Sunday, and I do have to run an errand, so I thought I would throw this into my crock pot, and by the time I get back later in the day, this should be ready. And if you want to add onions in here, you could do that as well. I'm going to go light on the spices this time. I'm just going to add a little paprika and black pepper. Normally I would load up some garlic here, but I really just think I'm going to keep it basic. I'm just looking for the natural flavors of those peppers to shine through. And the Spanish paprika is just going to give us a little smoky flavor to the dish. And I've been thinking about what I want to add with this. Do I want to eat this with spaghetti? Do I want to eat it with rice? I also have some cauliflower rice in the freezer. I made that dish one time with chorizo and I think peppers and cauliflower rice, and that was delicious. So I still have to decide what I want to eat with this. You can use any kind of sausage here you want. I'm using a plant-based that I got from Trader Joe's. If you're using a regular sausage, it's probably gonna taste even better because those do have some fat in them, whereas the plant-based do not. And I think an andouille sausage or any kind of smoked sausage would be good in this, but certainly don't feel limited to those. If you're on a strict budget, even those little breakfast sausages would work just fine in this. And you could get by with just even using a few, just chopped up into little pieces like I did mine. I got home and my house smelled so delicious. I love the smell of the peppers cooking. Just 3 simple ingredients with a couple basic spices is really all it takes to make a delicious meal. And I did decide to make a pot of rice to go with this. I think rice is really the natural combination that everyone thinks of when they think of peppers with tomatoes and sausage. And the reason for that is that it works so well together. So I made my rice. This is some jasmine rice that I have, and I just added in a little turmeric for coloring and for health reasons. And speaking of turmeric, I actually saw it in the store the other day for the first time in its whole form, and I was so surprised. I had not seen that before. This was at Albertsons. I've never used it fresh like this, so I'm gonna have to pick it up sometime just to try it. Let me know if any of you have tried it like this, and if you did, what you thought about it. And there was a reminder on the back advising to add pepper along with this just to help with the absorption of the turmeric, and one of my viewers had been reminding me of that, and I just forgot to mention it to you guys. But I usually do always add pepper into my meals along with it. And then I'm just going to plate this on the bottom and then pour the sausage and peppers over the top and get some of that liquid to go down and season this rice. And I made just enough for 2 servings, which is usually how I like to make it when I'm just cooking for myself. I'll have enough for my lunch tomorrow. And if you're using a regular sausage, make sure to brown it up in a pan before you add it to this pot. There's something about the caramelization that happens with sausage in a pan that makes it taste so delicious. And unfortunately, that's something that you just can't get with the plant-based sausage. However, they are gonna taste delicious in this meal. I just love the taste of peppers. And then when you add them together with the tomatoes and the sausage, something magical happens. This is such a flavorful meal, and we really only used a few ingredients. And adding it over that bed of rice is just perfect because the rice is filling, but yet it's fluffy, and there's enough liquid in this dish to go over and seep down into the rice and flavor everything. I think this is one of my favorite comfort meals. Next up, I wanted to show you some footage of my getaway to the California desert. My family and I went for a 3-day weekend, and we found this great house on Airbnb that could accommodate us all. It sat on top of a hill overlooking the desert and this beautiful mountain range. The house had this huge deck that was perfect for enjoying the view. There was lots of things to do out here. There was a pool table, there was a bunch of seating, and there was also the pool and a hot tub. So the pool would have cost $500 to heat, so of course we took a pass on that. But the heating of the hot tub was included with the rental, so that was nice because we did enjoy that. And speaking of costs, in the past when we've gone on a family vacation, I've been the one that has paid for everything, but now my kids are grown and everybody pitched in to pay for this trip, which made it a super affordable weekend. I know I've done that with my girlfriends in the past, and we've had some great weekend getaways, but it was just so much fun to be able to do it with my family. And they had this really cute little coffee bar area that I thought was really nice, and then it had a big center island kitchen, which I was excited about because I thought it would be great for one of the things I had planned for our food. And here is one of the bedrooms, nothing special. And I wish I would have gotten this shot before, but I was actually one of the last ones to arrive, so people had already been into their areas. And this was the master bedroom, but the only thing I didn't like was look how low it is to the ground. And at first I wasn't sure if it was just because I'm a little older now, but I asked my son, who is 6'6", and he actually didn't like the fact that they were so low to the ground either. Anyway, I guess that's really the only thing I would change about the property. As you can imagine, food is an integral part of my vacations, but this time I was so busy that I only planned some breakfast items, and one of my guests made this bean dip that had beans, cream cheese, and cheddar cheese. I really couldn't eat any because I'm lactose intolerant, but everybody seemed to really enjoy that. And for my sons, this is always their idea of a great vacation meal. A few years back, I purchased this raclette grill. Someone had given me a Macy's gift card, and when I was looking through the kitchen section, I found this grill, and I thought it would be perfect for the trip that I was planning with my family. I thought we could maybe all cook our own meals on this, and it would just be super interesting and something that we could share together. And as it turns out, everyone does love cooking on this grill. And one of the things that makes this different than just a regular grill is that it has these little pans underneath that you can cook things in. And originally this was for raclette cheese, and according to Wikipedia, it's a dish of Swiss origin based on heating the cheese and serving it over boiled potatoes, and I think they also served it over bread. But these days, people are using raclette grills for everything from melting cheese to cooking Korean barbecue on top, which, if you're not familiar, Korean barbecue uses the little thin slices of meat. But for me and my family, we're finding all kinds of ways to use this grill, and this has become a tradition for us to bring our raclette grill and make our breakfast with this. So the first morning I set this up kind of buffet style, where I had some croissants and some fresh fruit, and then I had some shredded cheese. I had some pancake mix if people wanted pancakes, and then I had these hash browns. I had some prosciutto, and I also had the eggs, so people could just come up here and make what they wanted. And here are some little omelets with eggs and prosciutto. And then at the very end, I put the cheese on and then put this back underneath. And it makes quick and easy, personalized omelets. You could also cut up some different kinds of ingredients like peppers, onions. So if people wanted to make their own kind of omelets, they could do that. A few years ago, I even made myself a meatless cheeseburger, which I think turned out really well. I'm sure you could fry a hamburger on top of this, and that would work as well. I also wanted to give this a try with the bread and cheese, the way this was originally used, and I thought that was really good as well. But then again, any kind of melted cheese is always going to be delicious. And a few years ago, I made some breakfast tacos with some of this Tillamook sharp cheddar, some salsa, some potatoes, and I just cooked my tortillas on top of the grill, and that actually turned out really well. So pretty much everything I've used to cook on this grill has just worked out great. Anyway, this was my breakfast plate the first morning that I was there. And then the second morning, I decided to use the croissants that I had purchased because I had some left over and use those to make some breakfast sandwiches. My son had picked up a bag of frozen hash browns, and it turned out to be just the perfect amount for our trip. We used half the first day and the other half of the bag the second day, and I made these hash browns to go along with the croissants. And this time I used the top of the grill to scramble the eggs. And also my son Justin was harassing me for at least a week prior to this vacation, telling me that it would not be a good idea to cook prosciutto, because he was like, do we have any bacon or anything like that? And I was like, well, I picked up some prosciutto from Sam's Club, so I was planning on, frying that up. And he was like, you can't fry prosciutto. And I was like, I'm pretty sure that Italians probably do that. But anyway, I don't know. If you're Italian, let me know. I've actually never seen them do that before, but I decided to do it for this trip. And I am so glad that I did, because Justin later told me that that was one of the best breakfast sandwiches that he's ever had.
It's gonna be the best breakfast sandwich he's ever eaten in his life. I know it's mine. I believe that.
I got you on camera. And another one of my guests said the same exact thing. So I am so glad that I used that. The prosciutto came in a 2-pack at Sam's Club for $12.48, and I only ended up using half. So we used $6 worth for the entire trip, and that was for 2 breakfasts for 4 meat eaters. And we had a little left over actually. And then 2 of us ate ours without meat, just with cheese and a little bit of egg, and it was really delicious. I always forget about breakfast sandwiches made with croissants and how light and airy and delicious they are, but it's something I wanted to share with you guys because my guests loved it so much, and also because I thought you might like to do something similar for your Christmas morning, or if you're entertaining guests over the holidays. And then one evening I ended up frying some asparagus, and I had some lemon along with a little Parmesan cheese, and that turned out delicious also. I'll go ahead and link a few of these raclette grills for you, but I will say that I found some that were less expensive than the one that I purchased at Macy's, and they actually had even better reviews. Like I said earlier, I was just using a Macy's gift card that I had gotten for Christmas. One of my favorite parts of this trip was enjoying the beautiful sunrises in the morning and just the peacefulness that the morning brings with it. I was a little bit worried that my dog was going to get eaten by coyotes, and I think that's only because, well, first of all, there are a lot of coyotes in the desert, but there's also a lot of coyotes where I live in Irvine, and they almost got her about a month ago when I was out walking my dog when it was still dark out. We came upon 2 large coyotes, and as soon as I saw them, actually as soon as my dog saw them, she started freaking out, being very aggressive, and then I started yelling my deepest, loudest voice, and they turned around and walked away. So I've been just so scared ever since then. I've been keeping her super close to me. But I was definitely scared, and I was reading this story when I was in the desert about how a group of coyotes actually circled a grown man. So they can definitely be aggressive. You would think that they would just run away when they see people, but that's actually not always the case. We did manage to squeeze a lot into this little 3-day vacation. I even took along a mini puzzle that I had picked up at Dollar Tree. I think you guys probably remember when I told you that I had picked up a bigger one of these puzzle bug puzzles, and I thought they fit together so nice. It was just such a good bargain at Dollar Tree. So I picked up some of these mini puzzles that were 100 pieces, which is much smaller than the puzzles that I like to normally do on my vacations. But it was still fun to be able to fit this in. That's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this week's video. Thanks so much for watching, friends, and I'll see you next week.
Morning has broken, my windows are open. Wanna feel the wind blow through my hair. Which way do I follow? What happens tomorrow? I turn to you and hope you can guide the way. Sometimes I